Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. It is Thursday, October 3rd, 2024, and today's topic is sketching the shoulder area. And I'll post a couple of links in the description to two other videos that have to do with the shoulder area, because there's a lot to it, and those I think were good to kind of give you ideas, and then these will just, I'll keep developing with this video. So to begin with, 2 days ago, a couple of videos ago, we talked about the torso. So if you draw like a top and bottom line and then find the midpoint, and then you have like a top half, and then in the top half, the width of this collar, I just call it the collarbone, helps to figure out basically where like the solar plexus would be on your body. And then if you divide this, that gives you the shape of the pelvis. And you can develop it further. So if you look at some reference, you can add the bone structure, the skeletal structure. And then yesterday we talked about the proportions of the arms. So this is equal to this, but I like to set it, because that's like the shoulder joint, like that. So it'll be a little bit, it's relative to the torso. So, and then today, let me set a 5-minute timer, by the way. So today we're gonna zoom in on just this section, so that if I draw a top and bottom line with the midpoint, or middle line here, center line, this width will determine the rib cage, and then this bottom line will become like that solar plexus area. So in general, I'll be keeping it in that area. So yeah, the shoulder joints will go, well, it's the humerus, it's the arm shoulder joint. It'll be like this. And since we are focusing on it, we'll add more details. So for example, the rib cage will have this opening here, and then this is the like sternum, and then the clavicle, and then the shoulder blades will be back here. And so that's kind of how you get, it's like a framework, and then the spine. So from here, you should be able to look up a skeleton like reference, and it should fit. But this is simplified because I want to be able to draw it from imagination, and plus you don't always need to draw like the skeleton to draw a character. However, if you want to pose the character, like come up with your own poses, it is very helpful to understand the anatomy. So with that said, let's just put down a few guidelines here. So part of why I like to do this is to like test the proportions. So for example, if we say that that's going to be the rib cage, I want to make sure that it actually works. And that'll be like the opening here. And I like to simplify these shapes because one, you want to be able to change them up. All right. Let's see. So one thing, I'm going to go over, first we'll start with the front view, but then one thing that makes it I want to go over like what makes it complex. So part of what makes it complex is that any movement of the arm affects the shoulders. Like, they can't really be done without that. So it's good to place the shoulder joint and think about, because this will be here, however, the shoulder and the arm, so for the arm to move, the muscles of the shoulders have to be activated. So the shoulder blade becomes important, and the arm becomes important. So from here, it's kind of like this. I did that incorrectly. So if you go like this, then the shoulder blades have to move accordingly. In the back. Maybe I can suggest that. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And then, so from here, so that's 5 minutes. It's gonna take a while because there's a lot going on. So yeah, from here, the deltoid will usually be pretty close to whatever this is, just because of the way it's drawn. Because this is a mix of anatomical knowledge mixed with drawing, or drawing from imagination, which is not the same thing. So if this is lifting, then what happens is that the deltoid and the trapezius, which is what this is, gets affected. And so this is pretty important as far as so we'll just kind of focus on the upper arm area, since there's a lot of stuff to cover. So yeah, so hopefully that makes some sense. This is to keep the arm actually on the body correctly. So for these, just for an example, let's say that the arm comes across. Again, think about the proportions from earlier here. So if it comes across, so it looks like the deltoids can sometimes look like it's higher up because it's connected to the shoulder area. It's not just on the arm. that's how you get it to look like it actually fits on the body correctly. Same with like if you have foreshortening, that's another example. You could have the hand actually be like this, and then the shoulder. So this is what's making it a complex area, because there's just a lot of stuff going on. But it's doable. That's what I want to help us to figure out. So here, what if, let's see. So hopefully this construction here is helping you, like why we're doing this. Because mainly to pose the figure, that's like the big one. So let's say that the arm is coming across like this. So you want to make sure you place these muscles correctly here. See? So that it doesn't look like the shoulder is broken or like the arm's not attached. Same with, like, you could have it go this way. So hopefully that makes sense. And of course you can use pencil. That's 5 minutes. So this is how to articulate the shoulders with the arms. Otherwise, if you don't understand like the shoulder area, the arms will look disjointed. Let's start to like get some different perspective, and this is why well, before I do that, like, this is why it can get kind of complicated, because of the movement. Really, the shoulder is an amazing apparatus of the body, because it can go like all these different directions. And this is just from the front view. It also moves back and forth and all around. So yeah, so that's something to think about right there. So with that said, let's kind of play around with different perspectives. So let's start to turn. So if you were to turn this, that means that the sternum, so now you have like perspective here. So you start to turn the figure. So let's say you have this, and then you want to move the arm around. This is just to get started. Same with like if this were to go like outwards. So mainly I wanted to show the attachment of like the upper arm to the shoulder. And then just keep in mind the proportions. And of course the shoulders, it's going to be affected by like the lats and the trapezius and all that good stuff. So, but this should help you. What else was I gonna? There's a lot more. So just kind of the basic like framework of it is that in perspective, like if you were to do the sphere or the rib cage, it's kind of like this. That's the rib cage, that's the clavicle, and then the shoulder blade. And then because it is perspective, you probably want to use some foreshortening here. And I'll go in a little bit more detail about like just this area. That's 5 minutes. Yeah, yesterday was surprisingly like it was 40 minutes, but it kind of flew by because it's an interesting subject. Okay, so let's just kind of think about maybe a little bit of like the kind of how it looks from the back. So once you kind of get like the feel for the proportions, you can kind of just draw this. There's different ways, there's always different ways to draw things. So you can use like the spine as like a construction, a very useful construction. And so can you see that? So the shoulder blades are pretty important in a back view. So it's the same thing though, like it's still the collar area. It's like the equivalent, but it's like from a back view. And I'll keep it kind of bony looking because some people are bonier than others. In which case you would see a lot more of this right here, the shoulder blade. you have that to think about. It's a lot of things. And if you start to tilt it, again, we'll just kind of use like a sphere for the rib cage. So it might be good to start the figure like this if you know, for example, that this is kind of the focal point. So that would just be like the clavicle area. So yeah, this whole upper body can do a lot. And then it's good to put this in here. And then on top of that, like the shoulders can actually go back pretty far, meaning like from this view. Like the arms can actually go back pretty far. Like that might be a good thing to explore, which is like the arm. So like for example, like how far back. So here's another way to construct things that might help, because the other thing about the shoulders is that there's a lot of expression. So if you have this regular, like usual starting point here, like if one shoulder goes up, then the other one will dip down, and then the arm changes. So from here, like this, so that changes. And then the head and the neck can do different things. So there's a lot of stuff going on. That's another 5 minutes. Let's keep on going. So there's that to think about. Now, don't try to figure all of this out at once, but these are just, again, ideas for you to play around with. But that's why drawing is so interesting to me, because there's just a lot. And there's nothing wrong with like going back and kind of playing around with old sketches. I'll probably like go back and just kind of detail these. But that's kind of when like looking up reference is pretty fun, because you had already drawn the sketch. The other thing is, yeah, like you could play around with like zoom in, like right here. Just say that that's the rib cage, and then just play around with like, if you go like this, like, so it's the same thing as that. And so what happens like when you do that, so basically let's just keep the arms kind of bony, like this. So the neck I like to keep simple, and then what happens is that like the trapezius, again depending on like the muscles, It'll look kind of like that. So yeah, the shoulders can do different things, different expressions. Kind of from like this angle here, like, so remember in some other videos I talked about like the more it turns to the side, the more like kind of a circle it becomes. So then there's like foreshortening because of the trapezius and the, like that's the shoulder blade. And the deltoid attaches onto like the trapezius area. So yeah, you're gonna have foreshortening. So that's what this circle helps with, like because it's like the forwardmost point. And then it's good to think of the collar as like a circle, it's an ellipse for whenever you're doing the in perspective. It needs to come out. Let's just play around with like different angles. So there's different, like the shoulders are always going to be doing something, which is like what makes it a complex thing to draw. So for example, if I start with like the head in perspective, like, or foreshortening, so we're going to say that like kind of like a push-up kind of thing. So like gravity affects things. So if we say that's the shoulder, and then that's the arm, so the shoulders have to do a lot. So that'll be like kind of like this, and then the back, like you have to think about the shoulder blades. So this area, that's another 5 minutes. You have to think about like the trapezius. So you have the pectorals, you have the trapezius, you have the deltoids, and then you have the back muscles. So you have to know where the shoulder blades are. Kind of like that. What else? Well, I'm gonna start wrapping it up. This will be like the last 5 minutes. It is a lot, but hopefully this helps you out. Maybe like some of the back view. Again, I kind of talked about it in some other videos, but like, for example, let's say that you draw the collar area and then you draw like the arm, like going backwards, because it can do that. So this kind of pose. So one thing that comes up is like, what if like the back view looks like the front view? It's because of the shoulder blades. It's usually what's going on. I shouldn't have drawn it like so small, but I'll do another one. Like there. But I can kind of go over the back view a little bit here. So what I was attempting to do here is, I'll just finish the video with that. So from a view like this, like let's say you had the idea, because I kind of came up with that like spur of the moment, but let's say you had the idea that I'm going to draw that pose. The way I would start it is I would set up, if I am going to draw this exact pose, I would set up the proportions. So that's how I do the proportion. It's like you're making a grid. It's like you're saying that that's that. And then you can, from there, we already know, for example, that like the rib cage, like the hip, or the pelvis. So from here, if I know it's going to be like a back view, I'm going to go ahead and draw the rib cage. And again, the more it turns, the more it looks like a circle. And I'll just keep the basic proportions that I know about, like it's kind of like this. Now if I draw without the construction lines, I'm still keeping this in mind. I'm just not drawing it. So see from here, then you'll know it's good to know where the spine is. It's good to know what the shoulder blades are doing. And so that's what makes it look like the back view and like the curvature. So that's that circle thing we're talking about. And then you have like the lower back muscles, which are like columns. Then you have again, it depends on the musculature right here. Then the neck comes out. And this is kind of, the neck and the head is sort of like a whole nother topic, honestly, because it can do a lot too. But generally speaking, yeah, we can do all that. So that's how you can kind of come up with this kind of view. And then I'll do another video on like hands, since so a lot can happen with hands. But I think that'll be it for this video. Before I sign off, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And until next time, keep on sketching.